All right, so we are here for round one of our Dominaria United Mega Draft. We are watching David, whose draft we followed earlier, play against Ragu in the first round here. So I'm going to be looking at from David's point of view, and Mitch is going to be seeing what's happening over in Ragu's hand. So we know Ragu has a Rakdos deck. So he does have we saw while we were looking at the pools, he had a lot of the active treason effects, steal a creature until end of turn. Don't know how many of those he went with, but he had a lot of good. He had some good gold cards, some cheap removal. A Rakdos deck, like you see
We'll be
normally.
able to get a deck list in between games when the sideboarding happens. There's going to be a mulligan here from Regu.
Okay. So what's he looking at now?
It is Two Swamps Mountain. He's deciding which of the four spells to put away. It's either Hobbling Zombie, Sprouting Goblin, Pax Betrayal, or Electric Revelation.
I imagine it would be the
So
active
Pax
treason
Betrayal
here.
is...
Yeah, the pack. I imagine it would be the betrayal, right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
That's the one.
Yeah, so David's got an unexciting hand here. He's got 4 lands. He's got a 3-drop in Spore Crawler. He's got a 5-drop in Shali's Acolyte, and he's got one of his tricks here, Witch's Web, the +3/+3. So probably he would probably want a bit of a faster hand with his deck. But
There is a great draw here in Body Dropper because there was, besides Sprouting Goblin, no 2-drop.
yeah, and Sprouting Goblin is not being optimized in his deck, I don't think. If you can't kick it, it's still okay, but it's not a standout. So here's a Body
Without
Dropper
late game
here.
ability.
There's just a 2/2 for 2. Can get some bonus later. So here's a Spore Crawler here. David can't wait to trade that off and get a card for it.
Or Crawler doing its thing.
Yeah, so there's a Hobbling Zombie who also provides value on death. So, nice little synergy with the Body Dropper if it ever comes up that he would want to sack it. But right now, I can't imagine he would.
The Cade things are meant to be sacked, so that's the good part of it.
Yeah. So what else is going on in Ragu's hand here?
It's 2 land drops, is what I said. But the Electric Revelation means a lot of card advantage eventually because it has a flashback. It's a card draw itself.
Yeah, so that's the discard 1 and draw 2 effect from that set, Midnight Hunt. Yeah, so David's deciding what to do. He's trying to read Riveteer's Decoy, so maybe he wants to blitz it here for a card and get one of these creatures off the board. Let's see.
Notice I did mention how sack effects that are cheap are great with the Steal and Sack thing, and Body Dropper is just what the doctor had ordered for that deck.
Yeah, so we didn't see too many sack outlets. But it looks like he is playing at least some number of those the steal effects. We saw, you said the Pax Betrayal was it went to the bottom, but is in his deck here.
Yeah, at least one of them.
Yeah, so it looks like he's just going to take 3. David's going to follow up with a Riveteer's Decoy here. So he's not blitzing it, so it won't get him a card on the way out. But card's still good. We'll always trade with something.
In this situation, it's fine.
Here comes the Hobbling Zombie. So Ragu not interested in blocking at this time.
Looks like Sprouting Goblin is coming down, and the other 2-drop is, I can't imagine there's too much synergy, but Tawashi Song Shaper is also coming. Just drawn.
Looks like it's going to be a 2/2 for 2. I know he did have, he had an Oni Cult Anvil in his pool. I don't think his deck is going to be focused enough to make excellent use of that. This might just be a curve filler here that once in a blue moon we'll get a +1/+0. But
it's the kind of cards that make it in the deck for mega drafts.
Yeah, so the Riveteer's Decoy is going to trade with something here. Could be the Song Shaper, I suppose. It's the least valuable creature on Ragu's side, so he has come to the same conclusion.
Yeah, by a mile, yeah.
Yeah, so here David has some options. He has a Witch's Web. He can use that to keep his creature alive, to then trade with something else. He's going to play out his Skycrier here. So he has the Shalai's Acolyte in his hand, but at this point he has the 6 land in hand already. So just needs one more land to make that a 5/6, which is a massive difference. So once he's got up to this point in mana, he's just going to hold it to get the 2 extra counters. Does Regu have anything to do with a potential 5/6 flyer here?
5/6 flyer? No, we have the card drop, but the we did get a mythic. I believe it's a mythic dragon in mana form Hellkite as the draw this turn.
Yeah, so that's his only rare or mythic of note here, but it's a good one. So I don't we looked at each pool's player for about 1 or 2 minutes, or each player's pool
Yeah.
for about 1 or 2 minutes. So Ragua he had some efficient burn spells like 3 to 4 damage, but I didn't remember too much big removal or that hits everything. So yeah, so David's out of attacks here. He has drawn the 7th land, but it does mean he's not doing anything this turn except for maybe drawing a card with the Skycryer if he decides he wants to.
Well,
So
the Revelation is going to have a little synergy with the Hellkite because the Hellkite creates a dragon for 1 turn,
yeah, and
equal to the same.
notably that Hellkite works with flashback when the flashback costs are higher, because I believe it makes an XX equal to the amount of mana spent on the spell rather than the mana value. So when you have
Yeah,
flashback costs that are higher than the original cost, you actually get a bigger dragon for that turn. Because
yeah,
I believe it's
and
four to flashback the
yeah.
revelation. So he'll get a 3/3 now, and then when he flashes it back, he'll get a 4/4. So
Oh, we didn't. There's
nice.
actually a little more synergy here. Body Dropper can sack that illusion in a turn.
Yeah, well, he's gonna start by attacking with his flyers, I imagine. Okay, so not the 4/4. Maybe he fears another trick. But
He opts not to sack. There's also a sack a land play.
yeah, well, I imagine he's just gonna sack this dragon that's going away. Sacking a land doesn't. Yeah, it's a
Draws
little
a card.
early. It's a little early for that, I would say. Well, he already has like a way to draw cards in his graveyard, so I don't think he's
Yeah,
sacking a land
absolutely.
just yet. So he's stayed home with the Hellkite. He just wants to discourage David from attacking him back. He can just pretty happily sack this 3/3 now.
Oh, is he hitting end turn?
Well, it's on the stack, so okay. He's decided not to sack it for the counter. Okay, maybe maybe he's okay. I think he's
Hovering now. Oh.
maybe he's realizing that his window uh, closed there to get the sack. Or maybe he thought the
Well, the
creature just
backup.
sacked. Maybe he thought the creature sacked naturally, because a lot of these effects that make creatures into like tokens that go away, they sack them. But here it says exile it specifically. So
I see.
in a lot of these cases
Well, the backup
they do
play.
sack them. Like the decayed tokens, they sack themselves rather than exiling themselves. So maybe he was thinking it was gonna sack automatically, but it actually exiled
The
the
backup
token.
play
So
is
small
the
small
backup play is
little
unfortunate.
small little error potentially.
He's gonna sack a mountain though. It's still gets a card out of the deal
Yeah,
instead of a
well,
counter.
yeah, we'll see if that counter is gonna come back to bite him.
Ooh,
But
Shattered States Air as a draw.
okay,
That could be painful. Look at
this
that.
is
It's a non-creature spell.
this is almost lethal flying here. He's gonna have to chump block with his Skycryer.
If you swing out,
Yeah, he has to chump block with the Skycryer just to not die here. So
then he's at 14.
pretty big turnaround here. I can't imagine David was expecting he'd be getting attacked by 10 power flying that Ragu did not start the turn with in play. So yeah, these
Jeez.
active treason effects. When your opponent plays a 5/6 flyer, yeah, and your active treason is actually cost 5 mana, which quite overcosted from what we usually get that effect. But here it's gonna gonna put the pressure on big time. Um, David will survive and he will untap with his 5/6 still intact. So it's not complete despair here, but yeah, this was a very scary, very scary damage here.
Definitely scary.
Yeah, well, I mean, active treason is when you know your opponent has it, you do play differently. But when you don't know your opponent has it, it can do stuff like this. But you know, now that he's seen at least one of those effects, David's going to clock that there might be more where that came from, uh, and
Goodbye to a lot of creatures.
might readjust. So David has a patch up in his hand, which can reanimate a total of 3 mana value of creatures from the graveyard. He has a land, and now this Dapper Shieldmate that he's just drawn, which not great on blocks, which is what he's going to need to be doing here. Though if looks like he's okay, so he can bring back one of these 3 creatures from his graveyard. I think he's gonna have to bring back the Skycrier for another jump here. Yeah,
Like flank too.
yeah, it's just 1 point of life, but it's better than the alternative. So what's the second Shatter States era is what your creatures get +1/+0.
+1/+0. So the body
Okay,
dropper is representing 4 menace
and then you
potentially.
and then you get a 3/3 haste for the last one, I believe. Trample haste. David just
So
moused
electric
over it.
revelation to draw
Yeah, it'll also make a
and
four
and get
four.
and make a 4/4. The other card in hand, which I didn't mention, is Ardent Elementalist. So this is getting
Okay.
exiled. So I don't believe there's a target for that right now.
No, did he? He hasn't cast another instant or sorcery this game, has he?
No. So that's the only. If he draws one, that's perfectly
Yeah.
fine, though.
All right. So let's see what he decides to do with his attacks here. The 5/6. This is also sometimes the issue with an active treason is like you take their big creature, throw attack them with it for 1 turn, uh, but they're not dead and they still have it. So that's often an issue that comes up with if you're not finishing the game on the spot or sacking the creature that you took. Sometimes you just lava axed the opponent and they still have the biggest creature in play. So
Yeah.
we're seeing the upsides and the downsides of these effects here.
So since both blacks are tapped, body dropper activation is not something that can happen again.
Yeah. So what did he draw from his spell here?
It was something that is gonna somewhat put a clock on David, which is Simeon Sling. Along with the haster next turn from Shattered Estates era, there's a lot of damage coming.
Oh, the Simeon Sling is it's the equipment that's with reconfigure from Kamigawa.
Kind of unblockable damage.
Yeah, when the creature's blocked, it gets they take a damage. So yeah, at 5, he could just if he finds enough useless creatures, he can peck away here via this sling. He might choose to just put the sling on the decayed zombie and attack with it.
Can you equip Sling
I think
with?
it's 1 to
Is
play
it
and
one?
1 to equip. If I could
I'm
be
gonna
wrong.
check.
It might be 2 to
I think
equip.
it's 2 to equip. It's 2 to equip. That's
Yeah,
why. Yeah, that's
it's
why.
it's it's the rabbit battery that's 1/1. The uncommon that gives haste.
I gotta say the play doesn't look. Attacks don't look good right now. A Sling. If Sling could equip to something with 1 more mana, it would be a great attack
Yeah,
with the.
the thing is, David still, it's. I don't know how many ways Ragu has in his deck to remove a 5/6 flyer. From what I saw, when we just scanned his pool for about 2 minutes, there wasn't too many, just destroy target creature type cards he had access to. So this 5/6, unless he can go really really wide here, this 5/6 might just be enough to keep David alive to draw into something that can turn around here.
We do know there's threatens though, so it's hard to rely on one creature to block.
Yeah, I mean, Darren doesn't know how many of those effects Ragu's playing. I mean, we don't know either, but I know he had at least 4 or 5 in his pool. And the good part about those cards is they just always wheel, so you never actually have to use a high pick on them. Like I mentioned before, we saw Sawyer execute this brilliantly. I think it was Neon Dynasty League. Um, it was one of the leagues, but he just picked up every single copy of the card that was available, and had a terrifying deck that 3-0'd the Mega Draft. So he found the
Not leaving.
connective tissue of synergy, which is that every set has one of these cards, and often they're not great. In some sets they're they work because the archetype calls for it. But in a lot of sets, like in Dominaria, they put one, and that's the card. The archetype doesn't really exist like red, black, steel, and sack. That card just is just on its own. But you know, in the spectrum of the Mega Draft, I'd say it'd be good. All right, so draws a card here, gets a Rafin's Informant. Just playing a bunch of creatures to try and not die here, but also not imminently solving any of the problems.
We got a Shady Traveler and a Mountain as the 2 draws.
Okay, so that's a menace
I
creature.
imagine.
So if he's planning an all-out attack at some point, that menace creature is very very relevant.
Still no good attacks, but
Yeah,
could be next turn we'll see it go down.
So here's a love song of night and day off the top. This might be a situation where where he wants to draw cards. We'll see. But at such a low life total, one of those cards that he gives his opponent might be the card that puts him away. But alternatively, one of the cards that he draws might be the one that saves him. So he is going for the card draw here. So
He's playing
he's making a Mull
let my
Drifter.
opponent draw a tribal.
He's making a Mull Drifter here, eventually.
Let my opponent draw a tribal. It's working.
And so he's got a Tales of Master Sashiro here, which actually can he's gonna be able to clock in for damage here with his angel. He can hit for 6 and then threaten to hit for even more next turn. So that was quite the nice card here. Nice little draw. So what did Ragu get gifted by the love song?
Only a 2-drop and a mountain, so Crooked Custodian's not doing much in this board, but it's still another attacker.
Yeah, enters the battlefield tapped, but yeah, this game may have turned with this Tales of Master Shishiro. Like
So
Ragu's,
Torch Breath. Do you know what Torch Breath does? It's an X. I think it just removes something.
It's X and a red. Does it cost less if you're targeting blue creatures or something like this?
I think it can't be countered. So yeah, it's like blue counter. Yeah, so it does X damage to creature planeswalker. So it's also gonna make a huge dragon, if I'm not mistaken, if you exit.
Yeah, so he can do X equals 6.
7.
4, 5, 6, 7. He has 7 mana, right?
Yeah.
So X can equal 6, which doesn't kill
No, sorry, he has 7 mana. You're right. You're right, I'm wrong.
Yeah. So he can make a 7/7. He can't kill the Acolyte, but is that 7/7 enough to win the
What happens
game?
if you kill Skycrier, give Body Dropper Menace, and equip something? I can't do the math, but
This is why they're in the top 8, right? Because Ragu's gonna figure it out
wait,
while we're
wait,
speculating. He's gonna find
wait. There, I thought of something even better. You Torch Breath Ardent. Wait, 4, 1, 2.
I don't know if he has enough
Did he play a
to.
land this turn? That's what
I
I'm.
believe he did play a land.
Yeah.
Imagine if he didn't.
So
Imagine if he didn't sacrifice a land way back when. All right, so
he's making
he's decided on Torch Breath here. So what's the 1 mana left over for? Yeah.
absolutely nothing from what I can
Yeah,
tell.
so he's just Torch Breath, the creature you can kill. Yeah.
There's a lot of different things you could do that are fancy, and then the
Yeah,
math was the part where I didn't do
he
anything.
just killed the flying blocker that he could, and attacked. So there was no life gain there, and he was going to take more than 5. So, um,
Easy.
yeah, we see his Hellkite carried the day there. Uh, the Torch Breath there was actually the only removal that he played, but the Shattering States era was pretty key here because it brought David from a pretty comfortable life total to being constantly in danger every single turn and no longer really able to attack. So
So
looking at David's build here, he went really for all the 2 and 3 drops that he had access to, and all the 1 drops too. So he's just playing everything that costs 1, 2, and 3 here. So what's Ragu's build looking like? We saw his pool
yeah,
in
so
Emergency's old deck.
I'm looking at 3 threaten effects:
Okay, so
Headpack's Betrayal, the Shattered States, which we saw, as well as one of his 2 Enthralled Pits.
okay, not bad. So David's looking at Might of the Old Ways and Tales of Master Shishiro. He's pulled over to the side as perhaps. Well, he's thinking about cutting the Tales of Master Shishiro, but I think that card's like quite important for this type of deck. It feels like it does things that other cards can't, but it looks like he's cutting it in favor of a +2/+2. Might of the Old Ways. So it's a
Oh
trick.
yeah.
It's a trick with Coven. So you give a creature +2/+2, and then if you have Coven, you do get to draw a card. So kind of neat little trick
You,
there.
you can draw. Can you draw a card if that creature you targeted is removed? Does it fizzle or
I think the spell just
you always?
fizzles. Yeah, but
So that means.
so my speculation, because now he's pulled Shalai's Acolyte off to the side. Um,
I
hasn't
mean,
hasn't brought in anything to potentially replace it yet. Of note, he's not playing the by invitation only. Uh, just decided that he doesn't want a board wipe. He's not playing the kill shot either. So he's really gone for uh, as proactive and aggressive as he can here. So really no real fallback plan of like, what happens if I'm behind? What happens if my opponent stabilizes? What happens if they get the upper hand? I guess it's kind of you're going to lose a lot of those games. So, you know, I understand. I understand the focus on being the attacker, the aggressor, but we've all played Magic. We know that it just doesn't always work out that way. We have a vision of what our deck wants to do, and some of the time it lets us, and some of the time we're behind, and we need a kill shot, and we need to wipe out the opponent's board because they drew more creatures than us, or they killed our good creatures, and played a 4/4, and we can't get through it anymore. So. Uh, like I said, he focuses in on a strategy and he makes sure that everything is towards that strategy, which in this case is a green white aggressive deck.
All right, we'll see what happens on game two.
Yeah,
Not a proactive hand at all for Ragu. We have a Kami's Flare, a Garna, and a Long Reach of Night with 4 lands. But you can remove something early. That's about all with this hand.
Long Reach of Night was quite a card in the mid to late game. In the early turns, it took a while for it to get cooking, but when you do that in the mid to late game, you're just you're getting value and you're getting a huge attacker. So. Uh, I think that card was underrated for almost the entire format.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, so he's starting off with
Another
his Hexbane Tortoise, which he has two of
Hexbane
those.
Kami's Flare laughs. I mean, gets laughed at now. So Electric Revelation from last game is also in the hand. We got a Shady Traveler.
Yeah, so there's the Shady Traveler, the Menace creature. Right, so David does not have a fourth land, but all the spells in his hand cost 2 or 3, so he'll be able to do things every turn. Just and one more land, he'll be able to double spell. Looks like he's thinking of just using his Master's Rebuke here, but so yeah. So Ragu's not going to block, and I imagine he's going to play his Griff Rider because it'll pick up a counter next turn. Yeah. So here's the Griff Rider. It'll pick up a counter, and then he can start attacking for quite a bit. So here's a Garna. I
Opting to play.
I could see that being the target of a Master's Rebuke, perhaps. Let's see.
It was either that or Long Reach of Night because
Yeah, well, Long Reach of Night will just make David discard a card. It won't affect the board because you can choose not to. So he's offering the trade here. Uh, I imagine David's happy to put to trade off, and Regu is not. So this might be a no blocks type of game. Right, so here comes a 1/1 flying. So now he's gonna have 6 power flying next turn if he puts a counter on each of the flyers. So yeah, he's enacting
holding
his
up
game plan
Kami's
here.
Flare. Holding up Kami's Flare seems to be a good idea here for Ragu. Electric Revelation. I'm guessing we're going to see a Kami's Flare Electric Revelation turn.
Yeah, you can ignore a
Being
couple
being held
attacks,
up.
but once that Griff Rider is a 4/3, you can no longer you can no longer ignore it. You do have to block or kill it.
Oh, is he playing this at instant speed? Hovering it. Usually you want to hold it to deny the counter. I guess
Oh, he
he doesn't want to.
he saw at least one combat trick last game. and doesn't want to get blown out by it. I don't think. When you suspect your opponent has combat tricks, which clearly with the type of deck he has shown to be playing, he's probably running combat tricks. It's
Yeah,
often
that's
it's
the
often right to just fire off your removal sorcery speed when your opponent doesn't have mana, so that
yeah, it
you don't
often
get
is.
it. So you don't get it countered effectively.
It's the choice he's making this turn is basically to do it now or not, because Electric Revelation is probably going to be done on end step.
Yeah, it's pretty disastrous if he gets his counter spell, or if he gets his kill spell effectively countered. That's
That's
six
true.
damage. He's
That
going
is true.
5. He's not going to win the race because David has a take up the shield he can use like the turn after to gain life. David also has a Master's Rebuke and a Witch's Web for a +3. So yeah, so it looks like
There's the added benefit
Ragu's
of
gone on the slightly more greedy plan. Yeah, so he's going to put a counter on the tortoise so that the Griff Rider will get another counter from the attack. So he's going for maximum power here.
it's nighttime.
It it sure is. Yeah, so that werewolf became a 4/4. Yeah, so here's
All
the
right, 4
Kami. So
mana.
here's the Kami's flare. He's gonna wait for him to pay the ward, which is always correct. Uh, he might just let this happen. We'll see. Might be worth it to take up the shield here. If he takes up the shield, it's just going to guarantee that he can't lose a race. For yeah,
Right.
wait. I think I think he just wins here. So Witch's Web gives a +3. So bring the
Yeah.
tortoise to 6. Yeah. So if he Witch's Web, it's just lethal here. So if I imagine David has done the correct math. He's just thinking about what can Ragu have for 1 black mana to stop this.
Well, Kami's flare on his own turn would have been made this game much different.
Yeah, well, if David does the math, I think he can just end the game here. Looks like he's going to go for Might of the Old Ways instead, which I think is still it draws a card. I believe that still is going to be lethal. It's gonna yeah. So
It
this
would bring it to 6 total, 7, 8,
yeah
9, 10, 11, yeah.
yeah. So it's even one above lethal because of the extra counter from the Griff Rider. Yeah. So like I mentioned, if you
Oh, yeah,
suspect your
because the
opponent's
verse.
on combat tricks, you have to sometimes cast your spells at sorcery speed, even though it feels wrong. Feels wrong, but cost them the game there.
Yeah, there's no. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong.
Um, to be fair, with the take up the shield in hand for the lifelink, I don't think Ragu was winning the race, even if he did make the correct play to kill at sorcery speed. I imagine he's gonna readjust in game 3. He's gonna account for that. Looks like David
That
is
tortoise did
considering.
work.
Looks like David is considering a kill shot here. He's come to the conclusion that Ragu's not interested in blocking. He's interested in racing, and therefore, his combat tricks and his pumps get a little worse when your opponent is not blocking as much. So he cited out one of the bramble armors, that equipment from Innistrad, and he's brought in a kill shot because he is saying, he's not blocking. He's trying to race. He has active treasons to at least one that he saw, but to get in a lot of unexpected surprise damage. So I need a way to make sure I don't die by that. All right, so David's got the classic green white aggro hand here of a 1 drop and 4 pump spells.
Wow.
Well, he's mulliganing, so he only has
Pretty.
3. He only has 3 pump spells left. But
Ragu's only got 2 lands, but a Flowstone Infusion, a Tawashi Songstraper that can come down in turn 2,
yeah,
Chainflail Centipede, and Garnana Pax Betrayal.
so David's hand just became completely non-functional now because all he has are pumps
That's
and lands. I think he was
that's
depending. I
unfortunate.
think he was depending on that raccoon for everything basically. So once he gets a creature, he can start trying to attack with it and use his tricks. But this mulligan might have just proven to be
Look at this
yeah.
synergy.
Here's
Look at
yeah.
this synergy coming.
Okay,
You
here's the
got an
chain flail
artifact.
centipede.
Gonna buff the song shaper.
Yeah. So the chain flail centipede was gives +2/+0.
It gives 2/0 when it attacks, or the thing that it is on
Yeah. It gives
gets
yeah, it's
2/0.
+2/+0. Okay. Yeah. Right, yeah. So Damon's drawn an Argivian Phalanx, which is about one of the very few creatures in his deck he cannot cast at this point. So
Land meets Garnus comes down.
this is going to get messy here because all David has are his pump spells here and a 6-drop. So this game is going to be over as soon as potentially even next turn. Okay, he's got a kill shot, so it's gonna stave off some of the damage here. So
Yep.
imagine if that kill shot was another pump spell. So bringing it in was the right call. I would think it's I would be leaning towards just having one in my main deck, but he realized that in this particular matchup, it's the card you want. So here goes a Garna, but he's still facing lethal next turn with no creatures in hand.
Crooked Custodian's gonna add 3 power to the board. So it's not looking good for David.
Yeah, Ragu just played 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, and David didn't do anything. He mulliganed, he played a 1-drop, it got killed, and he's dead. Yeah, so he just absolutely can't play anything. He drew a land for turn. So after a couple of fun games, particularly game one was very interesting. We have a game three that sputtered out a bit there, unfortunately, due to the mulligan and the 1-drop getting killed there right away. So congratulations to Ragu for winning round one, and we'll be back shortly with round two.